Welcome to my short video on the weird and wonderful lives of agricultural labourers. We're stepping back in time to explore the lives of ag labs in the Victorian age. We often think of these workers as living monotonous, back-breaking lives, but the reality is much richer and more complex. We will focus on two farms, Balnabadach and Droichsburn. Here, in this picturesque landscape, agricultural labourers, including my own ancestors, led lives full of diversity, resilience, and even unexpected opportunities. By exploring their stories, we can discover just how much there is to learn from our agricultural ancestors. Here are 10 ways you can expand your searches to enrich the stories of your agricultural ancestors. So you've got the birth, death, and marriage records. Now what? To start building the story of your agricultural labour ancestors, you first need to understand where they lived. Maps and census records are invaluable resources for this. The census not only tells us who lived on the farms, but also gives us insights into their occupations, ages, and even relationships. Tools such as the side-by-side map viewer from the National Library of Scotland allows you to see how the places your ancestors had lived have changed over time. But don't stop at the census. Tax records, legal documents, and wills can provide further details about the economic conditions and social standings of your ancestors. These records might reveal how much they earned, their land holdings, or even disputes and relationships within the community. If you're in Scotland, Scotland's Places website has agricultural tax records, such as for the farmhouse tax. Local county archives may also be goldmines of information. Next, consider the archaeology and broader history of the area. Physical remnants, like old buildings or tools, can tell us about the working conditions and the daily routines of those who lived here. Pairing these findings with local histories allows us to contextualize their lives within the larger narrative of Victorian society. In Scotland, the Canmore website is a fantastic resource for finding archaeological information on a specific site, with both map and place name searches available. Newspapers are a goldmine for finding stories about the past. Reports on local events, accidents, or even adverts can provide snapshots of daily life. A notice about a hiring fair or a report on a harvest might reveal much information about the economic and social environment in which your ancestors lived. This is very true of Balnabadach. We can see all aspects of daily life there from newspaper articles, from ploughing matches, to shooting balls, to death notices, and even the adventures of the farm cat. If you're lucky, you might see stories relating to the family relationships and inheritance of the farm, such as this one. One tip I would give would be to check all spelling variants of the farm name. And also don't limit your search to local newspapers. During the Victorian era, stories were often copied and spread widely. So we even have stories about Balnabadach appearing in Australia. So sites such as Trove are well worth a look. This unusual story is about the housekeeper of Balnabadach trying to sue her former sweetheart of 20 years ago, for failing to follow up with a promise to marry her. A weird and wonderful case indeed. There's a host of books available in bookshops that detail farming life in the Victorian era. For Scotland, I would particularly recommend books by Isabel Grant. But don't forget to also explore books online. Websites like Open Library, Electric Scotland, and Google Books are excellent resources for finding historical accounts, novels, and even folklore that mention specific farms or people. Each contain unique material that might not appear on basic Google searches, even in the case of Google Books. A traveller's tale called Wanderings in the Highlands, detailing a visit to Belnabodach in 1881, for example, is available through Open Library. For Droichsburn, I've been lucky that a man called John Duncan stayed with the Allanachs until his death in 1881. I found his biography on Google Books, and it details everyday life. Local archives are treasure troves of information. Here you might find documents, photos, and personal letters that have been preserved by local societies. Belnabodach is now a ruin, but this previously unassigned photo from 1867 from a local archive gives an amazing glimpse into the past. Corn law petitions can reveal political views and also act as an unofficial census, such as this one from 1844. Personal papers and family stories could be your best source if they exist. Luckily for Droichsburn, we not only have Jolly's biography of John Duncan, but also a personal account from John Taylor, who married Jean Allanach in 1876. He worked locally and was a protege of John Duncan. He was an uneducated ploughboy, but self-taught himself many subjects and ended up being curator of the Paisley Museum. John Taylor wrote 11 Years at Farm Work, a true tale of farm servant life from 1863 onwards, which details his time as a ploughboy and gives unique first-hand accounts of his experiences, of being employed, the bothy houses, the food. There's even a wonderful chapter on love and courtship. The biggest surprise, though, was the chapter on a secret society with pagan undertones called the Horseman's Word, prevalent in northeast Scotland in the 19th century, with bizarre initiation rituals. Weird and wonderful indeed. Folklore studies, such as those found on sites like Tobarantulachish, might hold recordings of personal stories or songs associated with the farms you're researching. If you're lucky, folklorists might have studied your area in the Victorian era, such as here for Strathdon. Fairy sightings, reports of second sight, and witchcraft accusations, such as this one here against an Allanach family by their neighbours, are well documented and available for free on Wikisource. The northeast of Scotland is blessed with a treasure trove of music history. Bothy ballads in particular can be associated with specific farms and can offer historical social commentary and a unique lens through which to view your ancestors' lives. They live on today and have even said to have inspired artists such as Bob Dylan. By using all these 10 sources described, you can build a vivid, detailed picture of the world in which your agricultural labourer ancestors lived. Their lives were far more interesting and varied than we might have expected. From the land they worked to the songs they sang, every detail contributes to the rich tapestry of their existence. Starting with simple birth and death records for Belnabaldach and Droichsburn, and then using the 10 sources outlined in this video, I hope I've been able to show you how I have enriched the stories of the Allanach agricultural labourers who used to live on these now ruined farms. But the story doesn't end in Aberdeenshire. Here's me in Montana in 2022, in the cow town of Drummond, where my great-great-grandfather briefly lived in the 1880s. What links this place with rural Aberdeenshire? Well, cattle. From using all the 10 types of sources, I found out that John Allanach in Droichsburn also worked as a cattle trader, and Droichsburn itself was sublet from a neighbouring farm run by William McCombie. He pioneered the Aberdeen Angus breed, which now accounts for 17% of all cattle worldwide. So whenever you see Yellowstone or see an Aberdeen Angus restaurant, think of the Ag Labs in Aberdeenshire. William McCombie is remembered in TV and film, and also at the Arford Bull statue, a couple of miles away from Droichsburn, made to symbolise the historic connection between the celebrated Aberdeen Angus breed and the village of Arford. Thank you for listening to my talk today. I hope it's been of some use to you.